The space around the small Earth ship Horizon was quiet and dark. Commander Daniel Hayes sat in his captain's chair, his eyes watching the stars through the main window. The ship had been in this part of space for 3 weeks, studying stars and collecting data. "Commander, I'm picking up something strange," said Officer Kelly Jordan, her fingers moving quickly over her screen. "It sounds like—" "Well, I'm not sure what it sounds like." Daniel got up from his chair and walked to her station. "Let me hear it." Kelly pressed a button, and a sound filled the bridge. It was like music, but also like words. It rose and fell in a pattern that seemed to carry meaning. The sound made Daniel feel sad, even though he didn't know why. "Is it a distress call?" he asked. "I think so, sir," Kelly said. "But it's not like any signal in our database." Lieutenant Samantha Miller spoke up from her post. "Sir, that signal is coming from Sector 47B. That's way off our assigned route." Daniel rubbed his chin, thinking. "How far away is it?" "About 6 hours at top speed," said the pilot, Joe Garcia. "Sir," Samantha said firmly, "our orders are to complete the survey of the Orion star cluster and return to Earth. Command didn't authorize any side trips." Daniel knew she was right. The Horizon was just a research ship with a crew of 12. They weren't explorers or rescue workers. But something about that signal pulled at him. "What if it were us out there?" he asked. "Wouldn't we want someone to come?" "But we don't even know what they are," Samantha argued. "It could be dangerous." Daniel looked around at his crew. Some looked worried, others curious. "I understand the risk," he said, "but I can't ignore a call for help, no matter who's making it. Joe, set course for the signal. Kelly, keep tracking it. Everyone else, prepare for possible first contact." As the Horizon changed direction, Daniel went to his private room. He recorded a message explaining his decision, in case things went wrong. He knew he was breaking rules, but his gut told him this was right. 6 hours later, the Horizon slowed down as it reached the source of the signal. "What am I looking at?" Daniel asked, staring at the screen. In front of them was a field of broken metal and glass, spread out for miles in space. Pieces of what must have been a ship floated everywhere. "It's a shipwreck," said Joe quietly. "Looks like it was blown apart." "The signal is still coming from inside that mess," Kelly reported. "Something survived." "Scan for life forms," Daniel ordered. Dr. Olivia Bennett spoke up from the science station. "Sir, I'm getting 2 faint life signs. They're not human." "Can we reach them?" "Yes, but we'll have to be careful. The debris field is dense." Daniel made his decision. "Joe, take us in slowly. Samantha, prepare the rescue pod. Dr. Bennett, get the medical bay ready for unknown species." As they moved closer, they saw more of the destroyed ship. The technology was unlike anything they had seen before. The metal had strange patterns on it that seemed to glow faintly. "Commander," Kelly called out, her voice excited. "I found them. There's a small pod about half a mile ahead." On the screen, they could see a round object about the size of a car. It looked mostly intact among the floating wreckage. "Good work," Daniel said. "Bring it in." An hour later, the small pod was in the Horizon's cargo bay. The crew gathered around it, nervous but eager. The pod had no windows, but they could see a door on one side. "How do we open it?" someone asked. Before Daniel could answer, the door of the pod began to move. It slid open slowly. Inside were 2 figures, lying still. Their skin was blue and seemed to shine with its own light. They looked almost human, but not quite. One was clearly an adult, the other much smaller, like a child. "They're hurt," Dr. Bennett said, moving forward with her medical scanner. "The big one is in bad shape. We need to get them to medical now." As they carefully lifted the aliens from the pod, Daniel couldn't help but wonder what had happened to them, and what new dangers his crew might now face because of his decision. Dr. Olivia Bennett worked quickly in the medical bay. The 2 blue-skinned aliens lay on separate beds, surrounded by beeping machines. The crew of the Horizon watched from behind a clear barrier. "What can you tell us, Doctor?" Commander Daniel Hayes asked. "They're alive, but the adult is in critical condition," Dr. Bennett said, not looking up from her work. "The child seems stronger. Their bodies work a bit like ours, but with some big differences." Daniel noticed the aliens' hands had 6 fingers each. Their faces looked almost human, but they had no ears. Instead, they had small, gill-like slits on the sides of their necks. Their blue skin had tiny spots that glowed faintly. "Are they safe to be around?" Lieutenant Samantha Miller asked. "No strange diseases or anything?" "I've checked. They can't make us sick, and we can't make them sick either. Their biology is too different." Just then, the smaller alien, the child, began to move. Her eyes fluttered open, revealing large purple irises that took up most of the eye. She looked around, confused, and then saw the humans. Her face filled with fear. She made a high-pitched sound and tried to get up. The machine started beeping faster. "She's scared," Dr. Bennett said. "Everyone back up." The crew stepped back, but the small alien only became more upset. She reached for the larger alien and made musical sounds that seemed like crying. "Let me try," Daniel said. He moved slowly toward the glass barrier and knelt down to be at her eye level. "It's okay," he said softly. "You're safe now." The child alien stopped making noise and stared at Daniel, her head tilted to one side, like she was studying him. "That's strange," Joe Garcia said. "She seems to respond to you, Commander." Daniel took a chance. He asked Dr. Bennett to let him into the medical bay. When he entered, the child watched him carefully. He moved very slowly and kept his hands where she could see them. "Hello there," he said with a smile. "My name is Daniel." The alien child blinked. She reached out one 6-fingered hand and pointed at her mother. "Your mom is very sick," Daniel said, though he knew she couldn't understand his words. "But we're going to help her." The child made a soft, musical sound. Then, to everyone's surprise, she held out her hand to Daniel. He gently took it, marveling at how her skin felt, smooth and cool like touching silk. "I think she trusts you, sir," Kelly Jordan said from behind the glass. Over the next few hours, the crew worked to make their guests comfortable. The child stayed close to her mother, but watched everything the humans did with big, curious eyes. She seemed especially interested in Daniel, following him with her gaze whenever he moved around the room. Dr. Bennett created a special breathing mix for the aliens, guessing that they needed more nitrogen than humans. The child's color improved after breathing it. "The little one is getting better," Dr. Bennett told Daniel. "But the mother, I'm not sure she'll make it. Her injuries are severe, and I don't really understand her biology." Daniel looked at the mother alien. Her breathing was shallow, and the glow in her skin was much dimmer than her daughter's. "Keep trying," he said. "They've already lost their ship, and probably their people. This child can't lose her mother too." Samantha entered the medical bay with a tablet. "Sir, we've analyzed pieces of their ship. The technology is way beyond ours, and there's evidence their ship was attacked. Those weren't normal engine failures. Something tore that ship apart." Daniel frowned. "So someone did this to them. The question is, who? And are they still out there?" The small alien suddenly made a trilling sound. She pointed to the window that showed the stars outside. Then she made a clawing motion with her hands and a fierce face. "I think," Daniel said slowly, "she's trying to tell us something. Something about what happened to them." "Sir," Kelly's voice came over the communication system, sounding urgent. "Long-range scanners are picking up an unusual energy reading. Something big is moving in this direction." Daniel looked at the small alien child, who was now pressing herself against her mother's side, her eyes wide with fear. "I think," he said grimly, "we're about to find out what she's afraid of." "Everyone to their stations," Commander Daniel Hayes ordered as he rushed back to the bridge. The crew moved quickly, preparing the ship for whatever was coming. "Show me what we're dealing with," Daniel said to Kelly, who was watching the scanners. It's still far away, but it's big and moving fast, she replied. At current speed, it will reach us in about 10 hours. That gives us some time. Let's try to learn more about our guests before trouble arrives. Daniel returned to the medical bay where the alien child was sitting beside her mother. Dr. Bennett was still working to stabilize the adult alien. I need to find a way to talk to her, Daniel said. We need to know what's coming after them. Words won't work, Dr. Bennett said. Their vocal structures are different from ours. Did you notice how her sounds are like music? Daniel thought for a moment. Joe plays the keyboard. Ask him to bring it here. When Joe arrived with his electronic keyboard, Daniel had an idea. He played a simple, happy tune. The alien child's eyes widened with interest. Now play something sad, Daniel suggested. Joe played a slow minor melody. The child tilted her head, then made a similar sound with her voice. She understands, Daniel said. Music is the key. Over the next few hours, they created a simple way to communicate. Happy sounds meant yes. Sad sounds meant no. Different tunes began to stand for different things. Daniel pointed to himself. Daniel, he said clearly. The child made a musical sound that rose and fell like water. That must be her name, Dr. Bennett said. But I can't say that. We need to call her something, Daniel said. He thought of the star map they had been studying before finding the aliens. How about Lyra? It's a constellation with beautiful stars. He pointed to the child. Lyra, he asked. The child made a happy sound. She seemed to like it. Next, Daniel pointed to her mother. Lyra made a complex melody that humans couldn't repeat. We'll figure out her name later, Daniel said. For now, let's focus on learning what happened. Using pictures and music, they slowly pieced together Lyra's story. She and her mother came from a faraway world. They were on a scientific mission when they were attacked by another alien species. Lyra drew a picture of the attacker's ship. It looked like a huge, sharp-toothed animal. Why were they attacked? Daniel wondered. Lyra drew more pictures showing the attackers taking parts from her people's ship. She made angry, harsh sounds when she pointed at the drawings. They're some kind of space pirates, Samantha suggested, stealing advanced technology. Just then, Dr. Bennett called Daniel over. Sir, the mother is waking up. The adult alien's eyes opened slowly. They were a deeper purple than Lyra's. She looked around in confusion, then saw her daughter and made a weak musical sound. Lyra rushed to her mother's side, making happy noises and pointing at Daniel and the crew. The mother tried to sit up but was too weak. She reached out a shaking hand toward Daniel. When he took her hand, something strange happened. Images flashed in his mind. Stars, planets, and ships he had never seen before. Then a clear thought that wasn't his own. Asterisk danger coming. Must warn asterisk. Daniel pulled his hand away, shocked. She put thoughts in my head, he said. Their species must be telepathic through touch. What did she show you? Dr. Bennett asked. The things chasing them. She called them shriekers. They hunt advanced civilizations and take their technology. And they're following the energy trail from the escape pod. Daniel looked at the scared mother and daughter. Then he looked at his crew. The ship that's coming. It's not just passing by. It's hunting them. And now it's hunting us too. What are we going to do? Joe asked. The Horizon isn't a warship. We can't fight. We have 10 hours to figure something out, Daniel said. I'm not giving up on them now. Commander Daniel Hayes called an emergency meeting in the ship's main room. All 12 crew members gathered around the table, faces serious. We have less than 10 hours before the Shrieker ship gets here, Daniel began. We need to decide what to do. Security Officer Alan Parker spoke first. Sir, with all due respect, our choice is clear. We need to leave the aliens behind and run. The Horizon isn't built for fighting. Several crew members nodded in agreement. That would be abandoning them to die, Dr. Bennett argued. The mother is still too weak to move, and even if she wasn't, where would they go? Their pod is damaged. Better them than all of us, Alan said firmly. Our first duty is to Earth and this crew. The room filled with heated voices as people took sides. Daniel let them talk for a few minutes, then raised his hand for quiet. I understand both sides, he said. But before we decide, there's something you should know. He explained what the alien mother had shared with him through her touch. The Shriekers aren't just after Lyra and her mother. They're expanding into this part of space. If they keep going, they'll eventually reach Earth. We need to know more about them. Just then, Kelly's voice came over the speaker. Commander, the alien mother is awake again and trying to tell us something. You should come quickly. In the medical bay, the blue-skinned mother was sitting up, her eyes bright with effort. When Daniel entered, she reached for his hand again. This time, when their skin touched, he saw technical diagrams and plans flowing into his mind. The images showed parts of the horizon merged with alien technology. When she let go, Daniel looked at her with wonder. You're trying to help us fight, aren't you? The alien mother made a weak musical sound. Lyra responded with an excited series of notes. What did she show you? Dr. Bennett asked. I think she's giving us plans to upgrade our ship, Daniel said. She's showing us how to turn our research equipment into weapons. Is that even possible? Joe asked. I don't know. We need to get Nick from engineering up here. When Nick arrived, Daniel described what he had seen. Nick looked doubtful at first, but became more interested as Daniel explained. It's crazy, but it might work, Nick finally said. If we redirect power from the scanning arrays and modify the sample collection tools, we could make a decent energy weapon. But we'd need materials we don't have. The alien mother made another sound and pointed weakly toward the cargo bay where her escape pod was stored. She's saying to use parts from their pod, Daniel guessed. The crew split into two groups, those who thought they should try to fight, and those who wanted to run. The argument grew heated again. Listen to me, Daniel said, his voice cutting through the noise. I know you're scared. I am too. But running isn't just about these two aliens anymore. The Shriekers are a threat to Earth too. We need to learn as much as we can about them. So we're just going to stay here and die? Ellen demanded. No, we're going to try something new, Daniel said. Nick, take a team and start working on those modifications. Joe, set a course that keeps us near the debris field but gives us room to maneuver. He looked around at his crew. I know this isn't what you signed up for, but right now we might be Earth's early warning system against a new threat. I'm asking you to be brave. Slowly, reluctantly, even the doubters nodded. As the crew rushed to prepare, Daniel returned to the alien mother's side. She looked at him with grateful eyes and reached for his hand one more time. This time, he saw a beautiful blue planet with 3 moons. He felt her love for her home and her fear that she would never see it again. I'll get your daughter home, Daniel promised. Somehow, the alien mother's eyes filled with strange, glowing tears. She made a musical sound that needed no translation. It was thank you in any language. The next 8 hours on the horizon were the busiest in the ship's history. Every crew member worked without rest, following the strange plans from the alien mother. In the engine room, Nick and his team took apart the escape pod. They found strange metal parts that seemed to glow with inner light. Following the mental images Daniel had shared, they attached these parts to the ship's science equipment. This is amazing, Nick told Daniel as they worked. Their technology uses energy in ways I never imagined. It's like they can shape light itself. Meanwhile, Joe programmed new flight paths, planning how to use the debris field to their advantage. If we stay among the broken ship parts, we might be able to hide better, he explained. Kelly watched the approaching Shrieker ship on her scanners. 6 hours until they arrive, she reported. Their ship is 3 times our size. Throughout all this work, Lyra stayed close to Daniel. She watched everything with bright, curious eyes. Using their simple music language, she helped the crew understand her mother's technology. During a short break, Daniel sat with Lyra in the mess hall. He gave her some water and food that Dr. Bennett said was safe for her to eat. "I wish we could really talk," Daniel said, even though he knew she couldn't understand his words. Lyra put down her food and studied Daniel's face. She reached out slowly and touched his hand with her six-fingered one. Unlike her mother's touch, no images came, but Daniel felt a warm feeling of trust. Lyra made a soft, musical sound and pointed to herself. Then she took Daniel's tablet and drew a picture of a blue planet with 3 moons, the same one her mother had shown him. Next to it, she drew 2 figures standing together. One was clearly herself. The other looked like her mother, but wearing different clothes with a special mark on them. "Your home," Daniel said, pointing to the planet. "And your mother. She's someone important there, isn't she?" Lyra nodded and made an up and down sound. She drew more pictures, showing her mother talking to many other blue aliens. Then she drew a box with what looked like papers inside. Daniel tried to understand. "Your mother. She has important information." Lyra nodded again, more excited now. She drew the tooth-shaped Shrieker ships, then drew an X over them. "Information about how to defeat the Shriekers," Daniel guessed. Lyra made the happy sound that meant yes. She pointed urgently to her mother, then to Earth's direction on the star map. Daniel's eyes widened as he finally understood. "Your mother isn't just any scientist. She's carrying important information that could help protect your world, and maybe mine too." This changed everything. They weren't just saving 2 lost aliens anymore. They were protecting information that could save billions of lives. Daniel rushed back to the bridge with this new knowledge. "Listen up, everyone," he announced. "We have new information about our guests." He explained what Lyra had shown him. The mother is some kind of important person, maybe a diplomat or leader. She has critical information about the Shriekers' weaknesses. That's probably why they attacked her ship. "So that's why they're chasing one small escape pod so hard," Samantha said. "They're not just scavengers. They're trying to prevent this information from getting out." "Exactly," Daniel agreed. "Which means we're not just saving 2 lives now. We're helping to save entire worlds." The crew looked at each other with new determination. The work continued with fresh energy. In the medical bay, Dr. Bennett checked on the alien mother. Her condition was still serious, but she was fighting hard to stay alive. "Your secret is out," Dr. Bennett told her softly. "We know how important you are, and we'll do everything we can to keep your daughter safe and get that information where it needs to go." The alien mother's eyes opened slightly. Though she couldn't speak, her gaze held a mixture of fear, hope, and gratitude. 3 hours later, Kelly's voice came over the ship's system. "Commander, the Shrieker ship has increased speed. They'll be here in less than an hour." "All hands to battle stations," Daniel ordered. "It's time to see if our new weapons work." The horizon hid behind a large piece of the destroyed alien ship. Through the front window, the crew could see empty space. It looked peaceful, but they knew it wouldn't last. "Weapons check," Daniel said, his voice calm despite his racing heart. "Ready," Nick reported from the engine room. "The new systems are online, but I don't know how long they'll last. They're drawing a lot of power." Daniel looked at the crew on the bridge. They were scientists and researchers, not fighters. But today they had to be brave. "Remember the plan," Daniel said. "We can't beat them in a straight fight. We need to be smart." Lyra sat in a special seat next to Daniel. She had refused to stay in the medical bay with her mother. Through simple gestures, she had made it clear that she wanted to help. "Here they come," Kelly said, her voice shaking. On the main screen, a large shape appeared. The Shrieker ship was black and shaped like a giant manta ray with sharp, tooth-like edges. It moved slowly through the debris field, scanning for its prey. "Hold position," Daniel ordered. "Let them pass us." Minutes felt like hours as the Shrieker ship moved closer. When it was just past their hiding spot, Daniel gave the signal. Now, Joe fired the engines, and the Horizon shot out from behind its cover. The new weapons, made from the alien mother's technology, glowed with blue light. Nick fired, sending a bright beam directly at the Shrieker ship's back. The beam hit, and part of the Shrieker ship's outer shell melted away. It worked, Joe shouted. But the victory was short-lived. The Shrieker ship turned with surprising speed. Its front opened like a mouth, revealing a glowing red weapon inside. Evasive maneuvers, Daniel shouted. Joe pulled the ship into a sharp dive, barely missing the red beam that shot past them. The beam hit a piece of debris, which instantly turned to dust. "We can't let that hit us," Samantha said. For the next 20 minutes, the Horizon danced through the debris field. Joe's skill as a pilot kept them just ahead of the Shrieker's deadly weapon. Whenever they got a clear shot, Nick fired their blue beam. Each hit damaged the Shrieker ship, but it wasn't enough. "Our power is dropping," Nick warned. "We can't keep this up much longer." Just then, the Shrieker ship did something unexpected. It fired a different weapon, a net of energy that spread wide through space. "I can't avoid it," Joe yelled. The energy net hit the Horizon, sending electrical sparks across all systems. The lights flickered, and several control panels exploded in showers of sparks. Daniel was thrown from his seat. Pain shot through his arm as he hit the floor. When he looked up, he saw that part of the bridge wall had cracked open, exposing wires and pipes. One of the pipes burst, sending hot steam into the room. Lyra was directly in its path. Without thinking, Daniel jumped up and pushed Lyra out of the way. The steam hit his back instead, burning through his uniform. He cried out in pain but held on to Lyra, making sure she was safe. "Commander," Samantha rushed to help him. "I'm okay," Daniel said through gritted teeth. "Get back to your station. We're not done yet." The ship shook again as another hit landed. Alarms blared throughout the Horizon. "Shields failing," Nick called out. "One more hit like that, and we're finished." Daniel looked at the massive Shrieker ship on the screen. It was positioning itself for a final attack. Then he noticed something. The ship's movements had pushed them close to a dense cluster of large debris. A desperate idea formed in his mind. "Joe, on my mark. Put everything we have into the engines and aim directly at the Shrieker ship." "Sir?" Joe looked shocked. "That's suicide." "Trust me," Daniel said. He looked at Lyra, who was watching him with wide, frightened eyes. "We're going to make it through this. I promise." He took a deep breath and gave the order that would either save them all or end everything. Now, the Horizon shot forward like an arrow, heading straight toward the much larger Shrieker ship. "Everyone hold on," Daniel shouted as the ship gained speed. The Shrieker ship fired its red beam, but Joe rolled the Horizon to the side, barely avoiding it. They were getting closer and closer to the enemy. "They think we're trying to ram them," Daniel said with a grim smile. "But that's not the plan." When they were just seconds away from crashing into the Shrieker ship, Daniel yelled, "Now, Joe." Hard turn. Joe pulled the controls sharply. The Horizon turned so fast that everyone was pushed against their seats. Instead of hitting the Shrieker ship, they skimmed past it, so close they could see details of its black surface. The sudden move confused the Shriekers. By the time they realized what was happening, the Horizon was already behind them. "Nick, full power to weapons," Daniel ordered. The blue beam fired directly at the back of the Shrieker ship where they had already damaged the outer shell. This time, the beam cut deep into the ship. At the same time, the Shrieker ship's own movement carried it straight toward the large cluster of debris. Unable to stop in time, the damaged Shrieker ship crashed into the massive pieces of wreckage. A huge explosion lit up space as the Shrieker ship's power system failed. "We did it," Joe shouted. The bridge crew cheered, but their victory was short-lived. Warning lights flashed across all control panels. "We have serious damage," Nick reported. "Life support is failing." We have maybe 6 hours before we run out of air. The nearest Earth outpost is 10 hours away at full speed, Samantha said. And we can't go full speed with this damage. Daniel looked at his brave crew. They had won the battle but might still lose their lives. Set course for the outpost, he ordered. We'll do our best to make it. In the medical bay, the alien mother was awake. When Daniel entered, she looked at him with knowing eyes. She had felt the ship's damage and knew they were in trouble. She held out her hand to him. When Daniel took it, images flowed into his mind. Technical diagrams showing how to fix the life support system using parts from her escape pod. You're still helping us, Daniel said with wonder, even when you're so weak. The alien mother made a soft musical sound. Then she pulled Daniel closer and placed her other hand on his head. This time, the connection was much stronger. A vast library of information about the Shriekers flooded his mind. Their weaknesses, their home systems, their patrol routes. It was everything Earth would need to defend itself if the Shriekers ever came. When she finished, the alien mother fell back, exhausted. Her skin had lost much of its glow. Thank you, Daniel said. Earth will never forget what you've done. The alien mother looked at Lyra, who had come into the medical bay. She made a series of beautiful musical notes, her last words to her daughter. Then she turned back to Daniel and touched his face gently. One final thought came into his mind. Asterisk, take care of her, asterisk. Then the light in her eyes faded and her hand fell away. The alien mother was gone. Lyra made a heartbreaking musical cry and rushed to her mother's side. Daniel put his arm around the small alien child, sharing her grief. 4 hours later, after fixing the life support with the mother's instructions, the Horizon limped toward the Earth outpost. Daniel sat on the bridge with Lyra beside him. She was quiet, her blue skin dimmer than before. I promise, Daniel told her, your mother's sacrifice won't be forgotten. And I'll keep you safe, just like I promised her. Lyra looked up at him. She put her hand in his and made a small, brave musical sound. 2 years later, a new ship left Earth. It was headed for the blue planet with 3 moons. Commander Daniel Hayes stood on the bridge, now wearing the uniform of Earth's first ambassador to the alien world called Melodia. Beside him stood Lyra, taller now and wearing Earth clothes. She had learned to speak some human words, though she still used music for complicated ideas. Going home, she said to Daniel, looking at the stars. Yes, he replied. You're going home. And thanks to your mother, both our worlds are safer now. As the ship accelerated into deep space, Daniel thought about how answering one distress call had changed everything. Sometimes, the greatest journeys began with a simple choice to help.